This is Tuesday, May 27th. There are 57 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2025. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE go. Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current food is hyperactive, current music, Refuse 73. I love the color scheme, it's pink and purple, it looks dreamy. VANUHTEE go.
Oh. Hello, everybody. I am your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for joining us.
Also joining us from the U-Blog, Erin Tapkin.
Hi, everyone.
And our special guest this evening, a mainstay of San Diego Comic-Con, the creator of the U's Heart logo and the maker of your Brightmares, it's artist Alex Pardee.
Hello. I got super scared when you just said there's 57 days. I should get started.
It is so scary. Yeah, it's scary to us too.
It's so fast. Well, as we said, everybody, this is SDConCast. We'll take your comments and questions during the show. You can tweet us at SD_comic_con or use the hashtags SDConCast. We will also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you wish to comment there. But let's get started talking to Alex. And Carrie, why don't you get us started?
All right. So first of all, Alex, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking
Oh my God, like it's the least that I can do for the 7 years of promoting me every time I'm there. So I appreciate that.
We are always happy to, and I love going to your booth and seeing what you've got every year. So I'm really excited about this.
Thanks.
So speaking of, you have created some truly wild and beautiful things over the years, but I want to know kind of like, where did this all start? What pulled you into like this direction of art?
Like you mean Comic-Con specifically, or just kind of the weird genre of monster stuff?
Just your genre of like beautiful, horrific.
I mean, so I think I can pinpoint it into one specific year of my life, which was third grade, whatever year that was, right? Doesn't matter, because sometime in the 80s. But there was a year in third grade, all within the same like few months, I discovered Garbage Pail Kids, and my dad got me some Tales from the Crypt reprint comics, and Santa Cruz skateboard graphics were kind of everywhere at the time. And those three things combined, it kind of showed me, that was the first time that like I got hit with like weird art, I guess is what you can say. Like kind of like, you know, like Garbage Pail Kids were at the grocery store. It was like as mainstream as you can get, and there was these like monsters and kids vomiting, and it was so weird. And that attracted that, you know, and I was already a fan of horror movies at the time, even though I was only in third grade, and you know I had maybe seen Poltergeist or something, but I loved it. I loved old mummy movies and stuff. So it just kind of was like seeing this mixture of horror-esque demented stuff, but also highly comic bookized and illustrated and stuff and bright colors like that. That stuck with me from third grade. So that's where I didn't always have the same aesthetic, but in looking back on it, that is definitely where the seed was planted. Right? Like, I mean, there was years where I spent, you know, trying to do traditional kind of like superhero comic book stuff when I was like early teens, and like, you know, just not trying to figure out what I liked doing and what, you know, and stuff. And then eventually I just started kind of being like, I'm just going to draw what I want to draw. And I like weird stuff. So
I would say that has served you well.
Yes. So when your creative process, what's it like when you starting a new piece? Do you start with an idea and create from there, or do you just start with a simple desire to create and see where it takes you?
It's a little bit of both, and both are equally terrifying, right? Like if I have an idea, a lot of times that is very scary because I'm not traditionally trained. I'm not necessarily confident with like, you know, sometimes taking client jobs and commissions are tough, because if somebody's like, we want like a football player carrying a fish, I'm like, I don't know, I'll figure it out. But like that's like super scary. Or like, even if I have a weird idea and I want to do that. But so a lot of the time, what's most comfortable for me is scribbling. I scribble and I make shapes, and it's kind of this like, I guess it's kind of like this, like looking at clouds format, where I'll scribble and I'll see a shape, and eventually something out of that shape, it's like, it might not have been anything, but then during this process, my imagination kicks in, and I can be like, oh, I can see this and this and this. And then kind of halfway through, it'll just kind of make sense. And I'll be like, it might not make sense to everybody else what this is going to be, but for me, this is how it makes sense to fit together. And it's going to be weird. So I don't know. It's hard to describe.
It sounds pretty organic, actually. Just the pencil starts working, and then your brain starts going.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the fun. That's the fun stuff, I think, is and so I've been lucky. It was a long road, but I've been lucky enough, at least recently, to where more people that do kind of hire me knowing my strengths, rather than just kind of being like, oh, you're an artist, will you draw me a tattoo? I don't care what it is. It's more so like, if they're coming after me now, it's more like, okay, we know drippy monster, weird, we can't really tell you what to do, so just do it.
So but real quick, how long did it take to get to the point where people were searching you out?
I mean,
it's still
ongoing for sure.
But how long? But you've been working full time as an artist for how long?
Since, I would say, probably officially 1999. I was kind of, I had like an independent self-publishing company before that, and I had like, I was doing work for bands before that, just kind of like local stuff. But as far as like quitting my 9-to-5 credit card processing job and living off of $5,000 for an entire year was like, that was in 1999. So
5,000 did take you a long way in 1999.
It did.
Nowadays, not so much, but
yeah, no. It managed. I mean, it was stretched very thin, and I was still trying to sell comic books outside of concert halls and garbage cans and stuff. But it worked.
Well, I want to go back a little bit to your process. So you have a new art book out, Doppelgangers.
I do.
Which is so exciting. But I thought it was really interesting because in one of your recent newsletters that you send out, you talked about how the Doppelgangers really like started out of frustration, but then turned into joy. And I thought that was really interesting. So I'd love to just hear about that and how this all came about.
So basically, like, I have a bunch of different styles of artwork that I do, and these Doppelgangers have kind of become a specific style of mine. These like kind of like loose-ish watercolor paintings of movie monsters that I just get inspired by, that I love. And I think it did start, I think, less out of frustration and more out of a therapeutical experiment. It was more like like I was saying, I wasn't traditionally trained. So a lot of this is figuring stuff out on my own. And even back when I started, there wasn't as much stuff on the internet as there is now that you can then learn from. And so, I was kind of like tired of my materials that I was using, and I felt stuck, and I was like, I want to try watercolors. I'm just going to do it. And I had this kind of like, just like idea that I wanted to see how, like monsters, specifically like movie monsters and stuff, like a lot of them are very like iconic, even just by color palette alone. Like you can put, in comic books are the same way. Like you can just put, like red and green stripes and a brown hat, and that's Freddy Krueger. Like, so I was like, what's I could just like messily, like, therapeutically use these materials that I don't know, make these really messy drawings and see if people like them, or I mean, not even see if people like them at that point. It was just like for me. And I thought that they were making me laugh because they were pretty ridiculous looking. And they were funny. And then, pretty quickly, I was having fun with the process. And then the more, I did like 10 of them, and I was like, that was really fun. And I was like, what would I do next? And then and then the monsters started getting a little more obscure. So I was like, well, now I have to kind of like do a little more detail. And so I would just kind of slowly start learning how I like to use these watercolors. And the whole time it was therapeutical. It never had a bigger intention. I didn't sit down 10 years ago to draw, make an art book or any of that. I just this was kind of like my nightly exercise, for the most part. And then I just kind of I'm such a big movie fan that I just would watch a movie and then I go, that was a cool. I want to draw that one now. That's fun, And then eventually I would get suggestions and all this stuff. And now we have a book that's, almost 400 pages, which is awesome.
Do you have a favorite out of all those? I mean, I know that's.
Oh God. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't. I'm sorry.
I'm so shocked to hear that you hadn't been doing watercolor before that, because they just look so perfect like that. And you look so skilled in watercolor.
I mean, I'm still not confident. It's still I don't want to say it's a struggle, but it's still I look at other watercolors. I'm like, oh my God, how'd they do that? Like this, and so it's always a learning process. I mean, and I hope that I'm never not learning. I don't want that attitude. I don't want to be like, I got this, you guys, I'm good.
Well, going back a little bit more, and you mentioned this previously, you originally created the heart logo and the full visual direction for the Used in Love and Death. This was back in 2004. Mm-hmm. And can you talk a little bit about how that partnership came about?
Yeah, that was a pretty big life-changing, or at least career-changing thing for me. At the time, I was still doing kind of like my own indie publishing. 2003 was when I officially started on it. And I was actually doing a comic book at the time with Sam Keith, who's like my hero of comics, of everything. And he and I were working on a comic, which was a dream project of mine, but it was a non-paying project. And it was very difficult for me, not coming from a traditional comics world, to kind of be, thrown into this thing that I absolutely loved and adored and wanted to do, but it was very hard for me to do sequential stuff. And so I got to work on the first 2 issues of that. And then out of nowhere, I got a random email from Warner Brothers, and they said, hey, we have this band that wants to talk to you about doing some art. What do you think? And I had heard of the band. I had heard of the Used, and I was just like, oh yeah, I didn't really have much. I worked with local bands and everything up until that point. So everything was like, yeah, $40, whatever. I'll do a flyer for you. That's cool. And so I was like, yeah, I'm down to hear more. And then they were like, okay, we booked you a ticket. Can you fly here tomorrow morning in Burbank? And I was living in San Francisco, or in the Bay Area at the time. And I was like, what? Oh, this is serious. Okay, I'll do that. And apparently what happened was the guitarist from the band at the time was looking on some random Invader Zim fan website or message board or something, and somebody had posted a link to my website on there, and he saw it and liked it and showed the other guys in the band, and then they were just like, yeah, we want to talk to this guy. So it was just random,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then so I flew down there and really hit it off with the guys in the band, and just kind of from that day, it was just like, all right, you're going to be our art director. I mean, it didn't start off as that. It started off as maybe you can do some sketches for we're working on a new logo and stuff. And so on the plane ride home, I had actually come up with that Heart on a Noose logo in a really scribbly form. And then it kind of just took off from there. They liked that. And then we just kept going. So it was, I became their creative director for about 7 years or so. So anything from there to 2000 or to 2010 was pretty much everything was me.
And then you recently updated the artwork for the 20th anniversary.
I did, yeah. So this is a poster that we did, and then we also did a vinyl release where I totally redid the album cover. Yeah, so it was a 25th anniversary of the band and then a 20th anniversary of that album. So we did like a full thing, and that made me feel crazy. I was like, 20 years? Oh my God.
Yeah, what was that like emotionally and creatively to like kind of go back and, it's more than 2 decades, and you're working with imagery you created back then.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely was a little bit challenging trying to not just like obviously like I have different sensibilities now. I mean, a lot of the stuff's the same, but I'm not in the same situation creatively, artistically, professionally, any of that stuff. So it was hard for me to be like, do they want the same thing? Do I want the same thing? Or do I want to do like, I have kind of a different style now. So I ended up going ahead and doing like, actually I have it right here. You see. This is the new version of it, which is kind of like a little bit more of like how I kind of create like more monster stuff now. And they've always been like, do whatever you want. Like you understand us, so go for it. So it's awesome. I love it. It was a really great time in my life. Frustrating working with executives and corporate labels, but band wise, great.
That probably was good preparation though for later working with the corporations. Since I know that you've done some.
Yeah, it was good preparation. But I didn't learn a fucking thing. I repeated so many mistakes after that, because every project is like a new project. I'm like, things are going to be different this time. Like I'm so optimistic and excited all the time that that pulls me into traps. But that's a whole nother podcast. This is an excited one.
Speaking of excitement and the fact that we're now less than 60 days from Comic-Con.
Shh, stop saying that.
So you've been a regular there for years. What are your earliest memories of the con?
I'm also coincidentally 1999 was my very first Comic-Con as an exhibitor. So that marked my professional career as Comic-Con 1999. I had a 4-foot table. It was awesome. I'm sorry, what was your question?
Oh, just the memories of that first year.
Oh my God. Let's see. I mean, that first year was pretty wild because I had only done one other small independent zine fest called IPEX at that year. And then I just jumped straight into Comic-Con, and I had attended WonderCon, which used to be in San Francisco. In Oakland and San Francisco. I used to go to that all the time as a kid, but I had never gone to San Diego Comic-Con. I just straight up just jumped into exhibiting there. And it was really crazy. I mean, in 99, there was still like, there wasn't movie stuff there. There was still celebrities that shopped, and like, it was very bizarre, like I think like one of the first people that even came by my booth in 99 was Will Wheaton. And I was just like, I was so weird. And Danzig, I was just so weirded out. Like, I was like, this is cool. But it was cool. It was, the first few years at Comic-Con were very vulnerable. Obviously, like you're setting up a booth, and I'm an introvert, naturally, and setting up this table and being like, I was pretty apologetic. I think the first few years, like people would come by and they would be like, "Oh, is this your art?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, unfortunately, don't worry about it. You don't have to buy it. Just keep going," And I realized pretty quickly that that's not the best way to sell stuff. But it was like, I just was happy to be there. And then, so the fact that like people were like not listening to me and buying stuff, I was like, okay, great. This is cool.
So when you're doing Comic-Con now, and I'm assuming you've done more than just the one small zine show besides Comic-Con at this point.
I have. Yeah, I've done a lot.
Okay, so how do you approach Comic-Con differently than the other shows, or is it basically the same? And is there like any additional prep, or just like what is the prep that you would do for a show? And is Comic-Con different?
Comic-Con is very different. Comic-Con is a war zone for the most part. It's a place filled with excited desperation and madness, and it's awesome, but it's also just like so mentally taxing. The the difference I think that I approach Comic-Con is like, I've done Comic-Con where I really want to focus on my presentation and try to make like cool booths and photo ops and stuff. And no one cares about that at Comic-Con. Like, and there's so many people that it's just people are luckily, even though the state of the economy is fluctuating up and down, people go to Comic-Con to buy stuff. They don't care. They're just like, I want to go there and buy stuff and see cool things. So I really just try to focus on, you know, like merch heavy, easily affordable stuff that also gets, and the other thing that I really try to do is like, I am present at the booth. I don't have signing times. I don't have, you know, I'm not like, go to my booth and maybe I'll be there. Like I'm there like 14 hours a day and I will talk to every single person. And I'm like, and unlike before, I'm like, you want to buy this. This is cool, you know? So it's cool. And other shows, it's kind of like depends. I mean, I don't do too many anymore, but I mean, in the past, I've done Dragon Con, I've done New York Comic Con, I've done Designer Con and Ape Fest back in San Francisco and stuff. And the shows are usually specific, like, you know, like they'll be smaller and they'll be like a little bit more experimental, you know, like I could just go and have like a whole booth dedicated to one thing and see how that goes. But, you know, Comic-Con is just like, bring the flea market, let's go, have fun. It's cool.
So on that note, how do you decide like what to actually bring to Comic-Con and make a Comic-Con exclusive?
I mean, I'm currently doing that right now. So I'm not the right person to ask because I do not, it literally preparedness is like not the best part of my business. Like I'm very spontaneous with my, you know, design stuff. And I think Comic-Con is one of the places that does benefit from spontaneity when producing things, because a lot of stuff, especially pop culture related stuff, which I do a lot at Comic-Con, is very timely. And, you know, if I was going to, you know, make, I don't know, if I was going to make a Superman parody shirt or, you know, something weird, like Superman might have already come and gone by the time Comic-Con comes out, right? And or maybe there's like a specific meme within that people dig, and so it's funny. I don't know. Like I try to do like at least like one or two kind of like con influenced things that people might kind of dig, and then the pop culture stuff has always led people into my other world. Like I am very fascinated with my own characters, my own world building, my own lore and stories and all this stuff. But that's not a lot of the stuff that attracts new people, especially at Comic-Con. Like they go there because they're like fans of, you know, the merch stuff. And they're like, oh, you know, do you have any Pokemon stuff? And I'm like, oh, I did this fucking demented Pokemon thing. Do you want to? And they're like, that's cool. What else do you have? And then they see my other art in it, you know. So that's kind of helped expand my audience a little bit, is the pop culture stuff, which I've been doing also since '99.
Well, if it makes you feel better, as people who deal with vendors all the time, you are definitely not alone in wanting to wait. That's most of the announcements happen very late for similar reasons. But I want to talk specifically about this wonderful shirt from last year. So you created a Hallage Monster, which I think is genius.
Which is heavily inspired by the 70s monster of the same thing, but yeah.
So how did this idea come about?
So this idea came about. So a few years ago, I had created kind of like a, you know, Comic-Con has this very iconic logo, you know, with the eyeball and it says San Diego International, and it's everywhere, and it's very iconic. I had kind of done like my monstrous version of that, and I sold it, and
it was great,
and I really liked it, and people really liked it. And like the first year, like we sold out in like a day, but like before Friday we were sold out. I was like, that's crazy. So then like the next year I was like, oh, I'm going to bring more. And I did it. And then the next year, because so many people were wearing it, I guess Comic-Con got like a little bummed out and were like, hey, you can't sell that. And I was like, oh, well, and granted, I wasn't doing anything maliciously on purpose. I was just like, oh, I mean, like, you know, like it was inspired by it. It doesn't say ComicCon International. It's not like your logo, whatever. But they kind of explained to me the IP thing, and I was like, okay, well, maybe we can talk about like licensing it so I can actually sell it there. And they, you know, they have a very strict thing with the I logo specifically. So I unfortunately couldn't sell that one. And so I wanted to do another, flash forward, I wanted to do another, you know, San Diego Comic-Con inspired thing. And that wasn't crossing any IP boundaries or anything. And one of the biggest things, if you don't know about San Diego Comic-Con, is there's a place called Hallage, which has all of the announcements for, you know, Twilight to Marvel to, you know, Walking Dead, and people wait for, you know, days and days. I'm sure everybody here knows that. And so I came up with this idea as a kind of like something that works both ways. So this is to be interpreted as you want it to, because on one hand, you have the people that are like, you know, screw you, I got into the panel, I'm awesome, I got this there, this is me representing Hallage, I love it. And then the other people are like, I'll never wait for a full day to go in there, you guys suck, screw you. So it kind of hit both sides, which is what the intention was. And it was really happy. It was cool. It was fun. So
we loved it, and I know a lot of people did as well.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bring it back. I got to figure out what I'm doing this year. It's getting close. My scheduled design time is like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I noticed no eyes on that Hallage Monster because we never know.
I'm staying far away from that. I like as supportive as Comic-Con has been to us, and you know, as you know, nice, and I mean, we can reach out directly to the people that run it and be like, and have questions, they'll answer them. Same with the licensing people. Like, they've been very kind, but I have no desire to deal with their lawyers.
Run afoul.
Yeah.
So talking about Comic-Con and just having been going now for over 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
what does it mean to you? What does Comic-Con mean to you personally as a fan and an artist who you know has a business there essentially?
I mean, I think Comic-Con to me is like my yearly milestone and, you know, reunion of sorts. I think is like because we've been doing it for so long, there's not only like a lot of other creators and vendors and stuff that we see once a year. You know, everybody comes from all over the world to be there. But also it's kind of like this year-end celebration of like, I worked all year up until this point, and all these people come, and a lot of them are repeat customers, you know, so I get to see the same fans and the same things. And like, it's amazing to have, you know, to know that somebody who I've signed an autograph for and they've waited in line for an hour before will be just as happy to wait in line for another hour and give me money to buy a t-shirt and have me sign something. Like, it's so cool. So I think like that is like, you know, most of the work that we do is behind the scenes. It's like, you know, even social media now is so not interactive. It's like not like, you know, if there's comments, they're usually negative. No one's really going back and forth and supporting and, you know, and this and that. And it's oversaturated. And so you never have any idea who's seeing your stuff, who's really a fan of anything. You know, there's things like the newsletter that I do, or like the Discords and stuff. But for the most part, Comic-Con to me is the kind of like justification for working so hard. It's like I go there and it's, you know, it's the most exhausting reward, I think, right? Like, I'm going there 14 hours a day I'm there for 7 days. So, you know, do that for 7 days. And then by the end of it, I'm just like, that was really cool. I really appreciate that everybody came out. That was awesome. And I, you know, coughing and passing out, but it's great.
It reinvigorates you, like, in the weirdest way, because I'm with you. Like, it's so exhausting, but by the end, you're kind of like, but I'm ready to do it.
Yeah, again. I'm like, well, all right, are you starting? Yeah, we take notes every year. My Dave Correa, who I usually exhibit with for the past, you know, over 10 years, he and I, like, when we're done, we'll like take notes and we'll be like, what was good this year? What was bad? What did we do? And we're kind of slightly tightening things up. And like, he and I had such a tight ship as of like a few years ago that like we had, you know, every single thing, like we had it down to where we weren't even stressed anymore. We were just like, go there, and it was great. And this year, he unfortunately is due to scheduling conflicts can't be there with me this year. So my security blanket is gone, and it's already all falling apart. I like for the first year in like 6 years, I didn't get the hotel that I wanted. Like the booth things were getting messed up. My seller's permit thing was getting messed up. Like everything's falling apart, and none of it was even stuff that Dave dealt with. It was just him not being there. I'm like blaming him.
It's all his fault.
Yeah. I'm going to blame Dave no matter what.
Yeah.
So are you going to still be in the same place?
Yeah, so
Can we find you in the same place?
Temporarily taking over Dave's spot. So I'll have an actually even bigger place this time.
So you'll put a tent on one side and you'll stay there since you didn't get a hotel, and then you'll run the business out of the other side.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. I did get a hotel. It's just not the one that I specifically wanted.
And we do get really attached to our hotels, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
We really do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I'm directly in Hall A at the very first booth. So like you can't get closer to the edge of the convention center. And the hotel that I would stay at is the Marriott attached to the convention center.
Yeah.
It was the closest possible room I could get to my booth. And I could park there and I could do it. I didn't even have to cross the street ever.
Yeah.
And now I don't have that. And so, well, maybe I do. I'm trying to trade. I think we might be trading with a friend, but either way, I didn't get it officially. So.
Well, fingers securely crossed for that trade then. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to go back to your merch and specifically this thing. So a couple years ago, you made this Grimace shirt. And
was that already 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This was definitely not last year.
Oh my God. Crazy.
No.
Oh
so it was originally only going to be for Comic-Con, but I think it sold out like really fast. Did you expect like that kind of reaction?
No, but this is a really, really good example of like why that spontaneity works, because the Grimace Shake meme like got popular like maybe like July 15th or something, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like literally like 2 weeks before Comic-Con. And so we rushed this out and did it. And like out of context now without the meme, like, I mean, it's still funny, but like, how many people are going to be like, oh, sick meme shirt, whatever. But yeah, it was great. I mean, we sold hundreds and hundreds of them and then wiped out. And then I was like, put it up for pre-sale online, even though the meme's going to be dead in 2 weeks. And people still loved it and bought it for a month or so. And it was great. So I got to figure that out again. I don't know what's going on.
That's right. You need something like, to get here real big.
Are people still like Skibbity Toilet? I'll do that.
I'm worried about things like the tariffs, like kind of messing up the spontaneity. Like if people aren't able to get things in time, if there's supply chain issues that,
Yeah, no, that has been I mean, I don't do a lot of toy stuff at Comic-Con, so to speak. I have a lot of the toy stuff that I do is a little bit more higher end, and so I usually do that at DesignerCon. But this year, all of my DesignerCon stuff is just on hold because we don't know what's going on. So like I had kind of like 2 toys that were in the works that we wanted to debut there, and now we're not even risking it because it's going to be tough. And same goes with like a lot of like merchandise that's outsourced anywhere else. Luckily, we still produce all of I produce like my print. I have a print company and I have an apparel company like in California. So we print all of our stuff there. I mean, obviously we're outsourcing materials, which have skyrocketed, which is stupid, but hopefully it won't be forever. But yeah, we're monitoring it a lot. I think a lot of people are going to be affected by that. And I don't know. I'm curious to see how this year goes because, there is definitely like a fear of spending money at the moment. So I'll be curious about it. But I don't know. If you're already spending $1,000 to go to Comic-Con, then just go all in.
Yeah, why not?
Right.
What's one more maxed out credit card?
Yeah, right. What's the big deal?
Yep.
Yeah.
You spend more money, you just make more money, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy.
All right. So let's talk about another moment at Comic-Con, and that's when James Gunn walked onto the Hallage stage wearing your Brightmares shirt first.
That feels so cool.
That's what I said. That's the first question: is how cool is that?
Oh, it's the coolest. It was. I think what made it even cooler was that he did not tell me he was going to do that, which was awesome. James has been a huge supporter of my. I mean, we've been mutual fans forever, and he's been so supportive of me for years, and he's worn my shirts for years on sets and this and that. But he did not tell me he was going to do that. And in the middle of, I think that might have even been a Saturday. It might have been one of the biggest days there. And in the middle of it, like, I ring stuff up on my phone, and my phone, I'm getting hundreds of like messages, like, and I'm just like, what's going on? And I clicked on one of them, and it's all, James Gunn has your shirt on in Hallage. Like, and then there's all these pictures being sent, and it was just like, I didn't really have time in the moment to like be like, that's so cool. But afterwards, like, I'd see all these press photos, and I'd see all these things, and it was so awesome. Yeah, it was rad. He's cool.
Did you send him a nice muffin basket afterwards and they, thanks, man?
No,
Did you get to connect with him afterwards and mention that?
No, I sent him a hate letter because after that there was so many bootleg sites that were selling that shirt, and I made $0, and all these bootleg people were buying shirts for $10 on other sites, and it was great. No, I'm just kidding. That was not his fault. But that did happen, but it was not his fault.
I have no doubt.
Type in, like, James Gunn rainbow shirt, that all these bootleg things will come up. It's funny.
I remember that right afterwards, seeing a bunch of, the whole bootleg situation pop up, and everyone talking about, like, don't buy the bootleg.
Yeah, dude, that was actually a really funny learning experience for me, because I learned something crazy at the time, which was there's these automated programs and automated bots that if somebody posts, like, that photo would go up and somebody in the comments would say, where did you get that t-shirt? And this program will extract the graphic from the shirt, create a Threadless store, a Redbubble store, make that shirt, and then respond to that tweet and say, you can buy it here. And it's all
happen. We've had that happen, like, with even like our internal shirts.
It's so
like,
crazy.
It's
wild.
Yeah, it's like impressively crazy, but also like psychotic.
Yeah.
And but no, I did. We didn't talk in person, but we talked over email for a few things back and forth, and I was very grateful for it. And he's awesome, and he was happy to do it, and he's amazing. So.
Are we going to see some more from the Brightmares lineup? I know you don't have any specific plans or any concrete plans for this year's ComicCon, but maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like, so the Brightmares thing was kind of like, that logo is kind of encompassing my brand, so to speak, right? It's like
it's your vibe.
It's basically the vibe. Yeah, like I've always had a hard time describing what kind of art that I do. Like, people are like, well, what do you do? And sometimes I'd be like, well, kind of like horrific monsters, but like they're bright colors and it's confusing and I don't know. And it would be this long drawn out thing. And then in 2015, I came up with this term Brightmares that's basically just bright nightmares, and came up with this logo of this rainbow with teeth, and that kind of signifies that I create these Brightmares. And it's an easier way for me to kind of get across. Like, you kind of know, like, if you say, like, what's your subject matter? I'm like, oh, Brightmares, like these bright nightmares. It's like, oh, I get it. Okay, cool. Monsters, bright colors. Gotcha. So I'm always kind of, the Brightmare stuff is always kind of incorporated into what I do.
We love it. Well, we'll see. You did not love this question earlier, but is there a character or a creature you've drawn that, like, you still think about all the time, or that you can point out and think like?
So, I mean, right behind me, there's a character. This is a character named Bunnywith, and Bunnywith is probably the most consistent character and world that I come back to every. I can't get away. I did Bunnywith comics in the early 2000s, and then I kind of took a break, and then I made Bunnywith toys, like plush toys, in the mid 2000s, and then I was like, oh, I've had enough of Bunnywith. I took a break. Then I did a whole traveling art show for like a whole year with, hundreds of these Bunnywith things, and then I went back and did a book, and I actually just like was in development on a Bunnywith cartoon for a long time, and then it just got shelved a couple months ago. So that's very sad. But it's not sad because it's my character in my world and I can go wherever I want with it and stuff. But that is kind of like a representation of or an extension of myself, I guess, because it is demented and cute, and I can go wherever I want with it. So it's fun.
So how did that character come about?
Oh, I did not like my math teacher. That's how that character came about. I had a math teacher in community college when I was about 19 in Sacramento. And he was very angry, and he had a very heavy accent. And so it was hard to interpret. Like, math is a very kind of methodical thing. And you had somebody that not only had a very heavy accent, but was very angry and aggressive with it. And I wouldn't pay attention. I started drawing pictures of my teacher with physical ailments. So like I would draw like my teacher with warts and tumors, and then I draw my teacher with herpes and all these things. And then it turned into I was like, I made a cute version of my teacher, and it looked more like a rabbit. And so I changed it. So instead of it was originally basically like my teacher with herpes. And so it'd be like, if we were to go that route, the character's name would be teacher with, but now it's like bunny with. I made it a cute bunny, and it never had arms. I don't know why, but it turned into a bunny with no arms, but yeah, and so it just went from there. So it's this. It started off as me just drawing my teacher with ailments out of boredom, and then I made it cute.
Wow, I love that.
That's a great evolution.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I know why it doesn't have arms. Oh wait, I just remembered why it doesn't have arms. Because the iteration in between the bunny and the teacher was a nutcracker. So the nutcracker didn't have arms that I was drawing, because I had a nutcracker character that didn't have arms. And so I did this nutcracker that had these, so then that nutcracker turned into this cute bunny. So that's why it had no arms.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So we have a question from Committed Comics. And this actually kind of goes back to what we were just talking about with the shirts. But have you seen anyone using AI trained on your art?
I have seen it. I mean, you can even Google it, I think. I don't know how specific it's trained on my art, rather than just whatever the general Alex Pardee style, if you type it into AI, is. I have. It definitely. I'll say some of it, even though it doesn't look like my style, some of it I'd be like, damn, if I could draw that, I'd be fucking cool. But it sucks. So it's this up and down thing where I'm like, if only I could do that, but I guess I can't. But yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting, if I was to create all of these different images or all of these different styles and feed them into one specifically thing that I was controlling. I'd be curious to see what it would do. I'd probably just get frustrated and quit, but I'd be like, well, I'm useless. But as far as just just general, if you type in a lot of the things that do kind of suck is I'll get I'll have meetings, creative meetings with companies or something, and they will have a package to pitch me. They'll be like, oh, we want you to be involved. Here's some of your work that we like. And some of it is AI art that I didn't do, that they just found on Google. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to judge you too hard, but you can clearly see the difference here. That's not mine.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's out there. I don't like it.
Nor do we. Well, what we do like is getting to see you at Comic-Con, and we are so excited to see you there this year.
Yeah, me
but
too.
until then, why don't you tell our readers where they can find you and where they can order the Doppelgangers book?
Well, if anybody is in the Los Angeles area, you can find me at Monsterpalooza this weekend, which is exciting. That's a little horror show, which I like. Not a little one. It's a big horror convention that's out here that I really love. And this is, I've been attending it for years, but this is the first time that I've actually had a little booth there. So I'm excited about that. That's only in a couple days. But in general, everything is pretty much through, Instagram, which is just my name at Alex Pardee. I still begrudgingly post on Twitter, and that kind of stuff. I don't know how moralistic that is, but I need it for my business. So, I have a newsletter that I think we keep up pretty nuts and nicely, and everyone's very kind in response to those. I don't know. I'm just floating around, but I'll be at ComicCon and other places maybe. I'll keep it mysterious.
We cannot wait to see what you've got going on there this
You
year.
know where I will be? I'll be in Boston in September at
Massachusetts MiniCon.
Yeah, Mass MiniCon. I'll be there. So I'm excited about that. I wanted to go last year and I couldn't make it. So it's going to be fun.
Awesome.
Good crowd there.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Alex. This was a lot of fun to talk about Comic-Con. And
thanks for letting me talk over you guys and talk your ear off. It was fun. I tend to do that. I get nervous and I just keep talking. So you got to
No.
You're a perfect guest.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right. We will see you at Comic-Con.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Have a good rest of the show and have a good night. And you guys are awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we are going to stay on and talk about the news now.
Yes. I have so many more questions for him, though. Don't go away. He's just got like so many different things to talk about. Like we didn't even get to like touch on his Dick Tracy stuff, his Dick series, where it was all like Dick Tracy's profiles, but in different styles. Anyway. He's just great. Next time.
That's right. All right. So to get into the news now, we finished up our predictions for what will be at Comic-Con with the broadcast networks. So you can find that on our site. I mean, it's pretty much what you'd expect. These days, the broadcast networks don't have a lot, but if you want to read our predictions, you can.
And again, you say our, but it's really yours.
It's mine.
You're the expert about that for sure. We also got the news this week that the Omni at San Diego is getting a tiki cocktail pop-up this summer. It's one of a handful of Omnis that are getting these from, and it's already actually started on Memorial Day, May 26th, running through Labor Day. Tiki pop-up will be bringing signature cocktails, curated menu, fancy stuff. The pictures look great.
They really do. Yeah.
And you don't have to be staying there to go. So you can just pop across the street, hop over to the Omni, get your tiki on from noon to 9 p.m. Although it also does mention extended evening hours on the weekends. So they might be open a little bit later during Comic-Con.
All right, and then we had some news coming out of the DC cinematic universe, and that is in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, James Gunn revealed that we will be getting our first look at the Peacemaker opening sequence, the new season 2 opening sequence. And then John Cena says it won't be until, or James Gunn said it won't be until Comic-Con in July, and John Cena says it'll be worth the wait. But then someone asked him the question if it'll be just Peacemaker or maybe more DC Studio stuff. And James Gunn answered on Threads that it will be just him and John and Peacemaker. Although, of course, he'll talk about everything. So what that means, we don't know. But
it sounds like it's going to, it feels like it's just going to be a Peacemaker. It's going to be him and John, and they'll be talking mostly about Peacemaker season 2. But who's going to miss the chance to talk about future projects?
Right.
Absolutely. I think it'll probably mostly be like in the Q&A section. If somebody asks like a non-Peacemaker question, like let's answer it. I do just want to address real quick. I've seen quite a few people say like, oh, well, this means we're getting like a big DC panel. And like, that's very clearly not what this is. It'll be more like last year's The Penguin panel, where like it is a Peacemaker specific panel, and maybe he just, like we just said, talks about some other projects like in a Q&A, but it's not going to be the big DC show.
And although I feel like they could fill Hall H probably. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be Hall H.
I think it will.
I think it will.
Yeah, I think it. I'm hoping it will. I know I saw some comments that like, no, this will be Ballroom 20 only and possible, but I think that would be a mistake.
I think the two of them are a big enough draw, and the Penguin was in Hall H last year, so I think it's basically going to get the Penguin spot. But yeah, I mean, there's a world in which it could go to Ballroom 20, and I don't think it would be that out of place either. But I think that, like you said, would be a mistake. Yeah. So, in other news, if you are now questioning, hey, if this is in Hall H, how do I get in there? We put together a guide with lots of help from Ameshi, thank you very much, about how to get into Hall H. And as always, it is subject to change at Comic-Con or security as well, as it does every year. But we've done our best to lay it out like very clearly, especially if this is like your first time heading to Hall H. So hopefully that helps.
It's important to know what to expect.
Yes, for sure.
So you're not rolling up the day of. But it is a fluid thing too. So if things change, we'll try to make some updates. But everything is always subject to the whims and changes of Comic-Con. All right. Do we have a few offsites?
Yes, let's move on to offsite. So up first, we have Comic-Con trivia at City Tacos. So if you are in town on Wednesday night, you don't have a preview night badge, and you're looking for something cool to do, you could do a whole lot worse than tacos and trivia. It's $8 for a ticket, but they're giving away several prizes, including like gift cards to the restaurant, a t-shirt, and more. And they'll also have a gift card for the best dress costume. So it's really close to the convention center. I think it's only like a block away. So again, this seems like a fun option.
And it feels a little bit like they were targeting us with their logo, with their pug
Yes.
logo.
Yes, I do. I do like the pug. Well, I mean, it looks like that's the whole logo of City Tacos is a pug.
Dang. All right. I'm going to give them thumbs up for that. Might have to stop by. Even if I can't do trivia, I might have to stop by just to maybe the pug works there. Who knows? So, and if you're in town even earlier than Wednesday, if you're in town on Tuesday, there is an event with Michael Giacchino. He is doing exotic themes for the silver screen. This is at the UC San Diego. They're hosting it at their Epstein Family Amphitheater on Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. He's going to be bringing some of his beloved scores. He's done stuff from Ratatouille. He's done stuff from Star Trek. He's done stuff from Lost. He's done so much stuff. Gates open at 6:30 or 7:30 start. Tickets start at $30, but are free for US or UC San Diego students. I do want to mention that this isn't near downtown. This is pretty far away. It's about an hour away on the trolley. But sounds kind of worth it.
And also, he is having a score come out in 2 days from this event when the Fantastic Four releases.
Oh, fantastic.
Also coming up is, as you may know, there is a Doctor Who exhibit currently at the Comic-Con Museum. And they're having some panels throughout the summer coming up. So you can, there's 3 more events coming. And they have, you can get, let me see, tickets are $30 for adults, discounted for $20 for seniors, military, and students with ID. And young ones are only $15. They're going to do May 24th, June 7th, and August 9th with a variety of topics. So if you are going to be in town on any of those days and are interested in seeing some Doctor Who panels, give it a look on the site and see what's happening on those.
I also just want to mention that the Comic-Con Museum posted today that, like, for the first time ever, all 17 Doctor's outfits, like, are on display at the museum, and it looks freaking awesome. That maybe what gets me back to the Comic-Con Museum this year.
It looks very interesting. I'm wondering because they had part of it before and now they got the rest of it, so they only had part of the outfits, or did they have some?
I'm not sure. That would be a question for someone who's been to the exhibit
Might have to ask
thus
Kim.
far.
I think
but
Kim would probably know.
Yeah, but it looks really cool. And as someone who loves like movie costumes and props, that's my jam.
That is your jam. They'll be checking your
Also-
pockets on your way out, though. I will send them a note.
That's
Don't
right.
let Carrie leave with anything.
Well, if that's my jam,
Yeah.
what's Erin's jam is the escape game in the Gas Lamp, which is a really fun escape room that we did 2 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 years ago. We have partnered with them, and we are giving attendees 15% off for any game that you book. You can have up to 8 players. They've got time slots like every day from like 8:20 a.m. to literally after midnight. So it's like an hour of your time, guys. It's really fun. Grab some of your friends. You don't have to have all 8 people. Like, you can book just 2. You might be paired with people you don't know, but like, you'll make friends. Sometimes that's fun. So it's a really cool experience. We loved it. The rooms there are really well themed. So again, you can get 15%
they have
off.
like several themes to choose
Yeah,
from, too.
they do. But you can get 15% off with code SDCC Unofficial 15. So highly recommended.
I'm
And
looking
as
forward to
Sarah
them
said,
again.
we, and I'm only including me, James, and Sarah in this, not Erin, are famously terrible at escape games. But it was fun anyway.
Yes, it is fun. It feels much better when you solve it. Getting through it makes you feel really, really good and like smart.
Yes. I found
And
some
beating
amazing.
the 12-year-olds, right? Making sure you beat the 12-year-olds.
I found some amazing photos of us like from the Jack Ryan escape room, and we were so bad at it, you guys, like so bad.
That was before my escape room time. I'm
That's
new,
right.
just fairly new to escape rooms. So
Yes, yeah. No, it was me, James, Sarah, and then we didn't really know anybody else in our group. But they told us we had the second worst time all week. But this was on like Sunday afternoon, so like this was not early in the week. But we did beat some like 12-year-old kids. So
12-year-olds
but
in your face.
I will say you like caught money in it, and you got to keep the money. And they told us that we were the only group that like compiled our money and then evenly distributed it. So we sucked at the escape room game, but we were good people.
Yes, you were good people.
So
you won
there's
at life.
That's right. Because we did not win at that.
Yeah, if you're going to win at something,
Yeah,
win at something.
Right.
You don't have to win at everything. Win at something.
Something.
That's right.
It's time for exclusives, right?
Yes.
Yep.
We do have a few exclusives. Not much yet, but a few. So let's see. We're going to start off with Bandai's World Tamagotchi Tour is returning. Big dose of nostalgia always. So they kicked off just here recently at London ComicCon, and they're going to Mexico and then Japan, and then they're coming to San Diego with a full lineup. They're going to find the original Tamagotchi Mamechi, maybe? Robot and Friends. It's a limited edition release. And it comes in this amazing like clamshell box looking thing, and they've got these stickers. You can pick up Tama Lobo stickers, and they're going to have lab codes that can be entered into the Tamagotchi Paradise to unlock secret cell information, hidden gameplay hints. There's going to be 2 different versions that are going to be distributed at random, so you might want to plan on hitting up the booth more often than just once. But yeah, they always have exciting stuff. I would be shocked if there wasn't more eventually too. They usually have more than just one. Yeah, this is a very cute one to start with.
But yeah, there's usually another one somewhere. Yeah. I love Bandai stuff. Like they go all out for the con, and it's So fun.
They're very
All right.
thoughtful with everything from their giveaway stuff to their packaging and good
They
folks.
just get it.
Yes,
They
they
just
get
get
it.
it.
They get it. Who else gets it?
I am very excited that Patrick Ballesteros created a Severance print. I think Severance is going to be all over the convention this year, and I am not mad about it. So this is an 11x14 print called "Are You In or Out?" And like, really take the time to look at this if you're a fan of the show, because it has so many fun details. Like, I just love it. But it will be available for $30 at his booth in Artist Alley. And this is just a debut, but I think this is such a fun print.
Do we know if it's limited, or you said it's just a debut? So that means
it's just a debut. Yeah.
Okay.
So
it won't be
typically what that means is,
exclusive.
like, if it sells out, like, he usually puts it on his website after. But
Okay.
again, I just think this one is so fun.
all his little perfect details.
So many details. He fits that so much stuff into his art. It's crazy.
I do want to know if there's anything to any of the number sequences. Did he hide any special number sequences up there at the top? I'd like to know.
I don't know, but I bet we could ask him.
Okay, and I think this is the final one, and it's from Beeline Creative. Normally does a lot of tikis and such, but the first exclusive is going to be R2's Luau. Full details still to come. And right now, all we have is this picture of this this glass with some R2 and C-3PO tiki art on it. So that's all we know so far.
Last year they had a set, right? Was it a Tumbler set, or was it? I thought it was a set. So I'm wondering if this is just part one, or if this will
I
be
think
sold
there were
individually.
4 glasses last year. You're just testing my memory here, Aaron.
I'm sorry.
I'm like, one of them was like Hoth something. I'm looking.
Close enough.
At least there's an easy site to go to and check and see.
Yeah. There's. Yeah, I think there's 4.
Yeah.
Can't tell.
So this could be just one of a set. Who knows? They're so they give such little details at a time, little hints, a picture with just a hashtag or something. So they feed us morsels.
Alive. Yeah,
they do.
This was last year's.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, I think that might only be 2. We're just looking at the back. I think that's actually what's happening.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I'm gonna guess that there's at least 1 more,
and certainly some tikis for them this year.
Oh, I'm sure. I am sure.
Plenty of tikis.
Yes. And that pretty much does it for the news right now. But Memorial Day is over, so I fully expect things to start picking up here very quickly. Usually in early June, like, things definitely start to get rocking and rolling. So, yeah, it's full steam ahead from here on out to ComicCon.
57 days. Oh, my goodness.
Again, quit saying that, guys.
I'm sorry. 57 days, but only about 52 days until you leave.
Woo.
Gotta start packing.
Does
Get
that-
the case out.
Does that help?
No, I'm making it worse.
Okay.
I just unpacked from a trip, and I was like, you know what? I'm just leaving. I'm going to leave the suitcase out. There's no why put it away.
Yeah, that's me. I'm packing right now for a trip, and I'm like, I'm going to get home and not bother to put this up. It's going to be a good year, and we've got lots of signs that people are going to announce things earlier than normal. So let's keep that momentum going.
Yeah.
Let's not all announce things like the last 2 days, please.
You know what you want to do, Mr. or Mrs. or whatever vendor person is. There's this time between Memorial Day and the 4th of July when so much can be done and announced. And then you can relax and coast from the 4th of July all the way into Comic-Con with no stress if you get everything done before the 4th of July.
In a perfect world.
Just saying.
Now, we can't just blame them because some of it's going to be logistical issues, of course.
Oh, totally.
But
And I get it. Everybody's like, they want the sweet spot when everybody's paying the most attention.
Yeah.
I get it. But the sweet spot is not the Tuesday before Comic-Con.
Or Wednesday morning of.
Or Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
It
Honestly,
is not then.
If the day in July is double digits and those double digits start with the number 2, no. Just please no.
My favorites are the ones that are like, we're going to announce preview night at 6 p.m. Love those.
What about a certain somebody that had an embargo until 9 p.m. on preview night?
I'm just gonna name drop. Was that Lego? I thought Lego
it was Lego.
That was totally Lego.
It was Lego.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 year, I feel
but I get it with them. I mean, I get it
too.
I'm gonna give them a pass because that whole Brickbuster booth situation you didn't want that to be spoiled.
Unless you are Lego with Brickbuster, you are not allowed to do that. So,
and if you you can always just email us the information too, anytime, starting now.
Anytime. Yeah. We are info@sdccblog.com. We would love to help you announce. We really would.
And we do get asked that. We get asked that a lot. Like, how do you guys get the information? Or how can we get seen on your blog? How can we get on a post up? And it's just as simple as like directing us to your information, sending it to us, emailing it, even just dropping us a tweet and saying, hey, here's a link to my newsletter I announced on my SDCC stuff. That's all you got to do.
We do the very best that we can to like find news, but especially these days, like back in the old days, like everything was on Twitter, but these days it's like spread between like 6 different platforms, and we do the very best that we can to find it, but there's stuff we miss. So like if you are an artist or a vendor and you're listening to this and you're like, hey, like either 1, how can I make their lives easier? Or 2, I've never been on their site. Like, how can I get on their site? Literally, guys, just like send it to us. We want to promote you guys, like, especially if you're an artist or a small vendor, like those are the lifeblood, in my opinion, of the convention. Like, we like Funko, but Funko does not need our help.
They do not.
Okay, they do not. The Artist and Artist Alley does. So if you were listening to this, like I said, we would love to help you get your stuff in front of as many eyeballs as possible and help you sell some art or t-shirts or whatever the case might be. And as Comic-Con attendees, like, we love to plan. I know that like it's fun to shop the aisles, and sure, like we all make some snap purchases, but do you know how much stuff like goes on my list of like, okay, I see this, I'm adding it to my list of like where I'm going to stop, and I'm not the only one. No. So the earlier you announce, the more likely somebody is to stop by.
And after having some conversations with some artists who think that, nah, they wouldn't want to put my stuff up there. It's like, no, we actually do.
We do.
So if you said to yourself just now, like, oh, they wouldn't want to, I bet I'm too small, they wouldn't want to. It's like, you know what?
No.
Send it anyway, because
there is no such thing as too small. Like, send us your sticker. Like, we are happy to promote. And then real quick, Andy in the chat also said, please also send us your commission openings.
Yes.
That's true. Yes. Very true.
And
if you go ahead.
I was just going to say, even if you're not an artist and you're not a vendor, if you go to these events and you have favorite artists and you have favorite vendors and exhibitors that you shop at, and you've never seen them on our site, like reach out to them and say, hey, follow the Comic-Con blog, send them your stuff. They'll help you promote. So
absolutely.
Even just the attendees, you can help out your favorites.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for letting us go on that little rant.
Yes.
Let's do some housekeeping items, which is, first of all, today is the last day to submit for this week's attendee question of the week, which is, what is your favorite celebrity interaction? I know we've had a lot of really fun submissions already, but if you have not already, please go look at all of our social media channels to find out how to submit. But again, you're going to email your photo, your name, where you're from, and then whatever the story is that goes with it. So send that over by today. New question will be posted on Saturday. We are doing our friendship bracelet meetup again. I was like, I have one somewhere over here. We will do several meetups again, but if you've not already started, we would love if you would join us in making some friendship bracelets. We had so much fun with this last year, guys. We'd love to do it again. They don't have to be fancy. They really don't. They really don't. And we've got a guide if you don't know how to make friendship bracelets up on the site. We are bringing back our party. It will be, for those who know, the same time, same place. Details to follow. So, yeah.
Soon.
Yeah. Soon.
Soon.
And we also have a Patreon. So if you appreciate the work that we do have a Patreon. I just mailed a bunch of stuff out for our patrons. We've got our group hang next month. I actually just got the stuff in today that we will give if you come hang out on the group hang. So yeah, should be fun. And then finally, next week, we will be joined by the local institute and con favorite, the Cat Cafe. Owner Tony Wang will join us to discuss their mission, why the Cat Cafe is the perfect place to stop during the con, and more.
Do you think he'll have cats with him?
I don't know.
Oh, man, I hope so. That'd be amazing. Bringing the
That
cat.
would be. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. As we mentioned, we'll be back next week with the Cat Cafe. We'll be here every week leading up to ComicCon, including our 2 special episodes of breaking down the schedule when that drops. So we hope to see you here every week.
You can sign up for a newsletter, which we will start sending out at some point here in June. I see Sarah is watching, so that's kind of up to me and Sarah to get on that. But in closing...
Yes, in closing, thank you all for joining us. And Aaron, where can we find more of you on the internet?
You can find me on almost all the social medias at Bavarian Aaron. Carrie, where can we find more of you on the internet?
You can find me theoretically on Twitter and Instagram at Carrie Dixon, but more and more I'm just on the blog Twitter. James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am everywhere online at Dan Regal, except for Twitch and YouTube. I am the Dan Regal. I am on the Overexerted Disney Lorcana podcast if you want to find me talking about Lorcana stuff. And thank you to Beth, our producer, for editing the show and getting it into your ears in podcast form.
And we are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are going to be up on the blog, or you can search for SDConCast. If you like what you have heard, please give us a review. We are also on Stitcher Radio and Spotify, and the links will be in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at info@sdccblog.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at SD_comic_con. Thanks for listening, everybody, and go shawarma with Bunny. Okay, that's ended.